Good evening, TDN listeners, and of course, audience of This Week in Interview. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Interview for today, May 21st, 2025. I hope that you're having a wonderful week so far. Today is Wednesday, so we're right on the hump. Wednesday being hump day. I hope that you had a banging first part of the week and you can finish your week really, really strong. I want to say special good evening to you in Dominica. If you are joining us in Dominica, those of you who may be listening to us live on RVR Jams online radio, DigiPlay Channel 59 carries this weekend interview live. Also in the Toronto market, Radio SBE Online carries this weekend interview live. So welcome, no matter where you're listening to us from or you're watching us. Welcome to this weekend interview. If you haven't done so, please give us a like. Also subscribe and hit your notification bell so that you can know when this weekend interview is live. And the other great programming on TDN. Also, we have some really exciting programs. I think one of these days I'm going to devote either an entire show or most of one show to introducing you to the other great programs that's on TDN. This is just one of our many great programming sessions. Well, I want to welcome you. If tonight is the first time you're listening to This Week in Interview, welcome. I want to turn you into a regular listener because I believe what we do on here is wonderful. I get these great guests, folks who have accomplished so much in their lives, and I get to have conversations with them that I wouldn't normally have otherwise. And I get to share those conversations with you. And so I am truly blessed to be in the position of host of this program. And they say, sharing is caring. I get to share those with you. We talk health, we talk politics, economics, socio, and so on. Well, tonight is one of my favorite types of programs that we have, where we talk to local folks, mostly Dominican, who have come from Dominica and have really strive. What's the past tense of strive? Strove. They've really done their best to make a good living for themselves and their family, and they've accomplished so much. And so I call this personality interviews because I believe some of these folks have so much to share in terms of their accomplishments. And so tonight is one such interview. I'm very excited to introduce you. Most of you may already know him because he's not necessarily a figure that you would not know. He on the sports scene in the 80s and 90s, early 90s. He used to be in cricket, played as high as the Windward team and the West Indies youth team in cricket. So very accomplished cricketer, and also in football, growing up in Newtown. He was part of the Harlem Bombers. Those of you who remember that fun time between Kensborough United and the Harlem Bombers. You remember Harlem Bombers. DCP used to in its heyday produce soaps, and so the Bomber, the blue soap, one of the blue soaps was called the Bomber, and so they sponsored the Newtown football team. And so was a member of the Harlem Bombers Football Club. And as I said, he was an avid and very accomplished cricketer, made it to the West Indies youth team, played for the Windward Islands cricket team. And so it's wonderful pleasure to have you, to introduce you to my guest. Good evening, Miss Susan George, and those of you as well who joined the chat. Good evening to you. And very exciting conversation and tap for you tonight. And I really look forward to having my conversation with Mr. Joseph Gist. Let me bring him on, and I will tell you a little bit more about him. Mr.
I,
Gist, I'm first and last time I'm going to call you Mr. Gist on the show.
oh
Well,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
welcome because
Formal.
but
That's
I'm
no
going to call
formal.
you
Yeah,
bro.
yeah, yeah.
So
Let's
yeah,
yeah, Mister. I'm not used
yeah.
to that. But thank you for having me.
I used to have. Mhm.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So we seem to have a little bit of a delay in our so, but we will adjust to the pace as we go along.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead
But
and give a brief introduction of yourself.
okay. Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me. Yeah, it's been a long journey for me. I mean, I grew up in Harlem, as you mentioned. Um, I growing up was really wonderful for me. I mean, I wouldn't trade that for growing up anywhere else in the world. It was really nice. We had a lot to do as kids. I mean, the Savannah was really just outside my house, so we were always out there playing all the time. I mean, then we would, being young, we would go hunting for birds, for I mean, it's just a typical, island type of growing up. But I think what was good was the fact that you know, Harlem was a community, right? So we had some of the guys, the older guys in the community. They were the kind of guys who guided us forward, and they were very conscious of the community and doing things for the community. So at a very young age, well, while I was in high school, while I was in SMA, or just when I left SMA, I was the secretary of the club, so I was very involved in the activities of the club. So these guys like O'Grels, Pegleg, Randy, all these guys, Faustin, they would give me my instructions during the day, and then I would have to go out and do what they asked me to do and come back and report to them in the evening, because it was more than just football for us. It was, we had literacy programs, we had a whole bunch of other programs for kids, and other adult programs that we had. So I mean, we did a lot in the community, and I mean, so that shaped me. That shaped me even today. I work in the gaming industry, but it's mainly Native American casinos, right? It's the same concept. All the profits of the casinos in their instance goes to the community. In fact, this morning I just took a drive through the Kickapoo community, Lucky Eagle Kickapoo, down in Texas, right on the border. They took us around the
Mhm.
reservation, they took us into the meetings, and you can see, the results of all the casino, um, the monies that they make in the casino. You can see where it's going through. So, I mean, it's just so consistent. I mean, it's the same thing in my community where I grew up. It's the same thing that extended into my professional life. So, I'm blessed. I really am.
Right, and so I mean, humanity. There's so much that we have in common. So much more, I should say, that we have in common than we have differences. It's sometimes it's a pity that the differences get highlighted so much more than the similarities.
Yes, yes,
But
yes.
let's take you back. Let's start from let's go back a little bit. You said you were from Newtown. For
Yeah,
those folks who are not from the Roseau area may not necessarily know Newtown is what we call Harlem. So
yeah.
you're from the Newtown area, which is just south of the
Roseau.
central
Yeah.
Roseau. But I mean, by all intents and purposes, Newtown is as much Roseau
Yeah,
as
really. It's a
Goodwill,
few
as
minute walk, right?
Pottersville,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Minutes walk. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
and
even
so
if people don't know
you
exactly where it is, everyone knows where that Savannah is. You know what I mean? That
the
Newton
Newtown
Savannah.
Savannah.
Everyone know. I mean, they have events there still, right? I think they do. Right there, and that's where we grew up, right on that Savannah. Right next to Ken. Where Ken has his juice, right there, right
Right.
near that house
Hmm.
next. The house next to it is where I grew up.
And the thing about it is that the sports united all the little communities around there because there was Kingsville, maybe as far as Louvier. After I guess Point Michel had their own football team, so it didn't stretch to Point Michel. But the Harlem team, stretched all the way up to Citronnier, encompassed Kingsville and back down. And then those of us who, because I was in grammar school at that time, in the 80s, a tremendous rivalry between the Harlem Bombers, I was saying, and Kensborough United.
You think?
And so
Oh my goodness.
I remember,
Oh my goodness. You know.
I remember Harlem had some strikers, but they were really known for their defense. Guys like Ezers
Yes.
and those guys were
Yep. Yep.
impenetrable.
Yeah.
And Kensborough, on the other hand, were
All
strikers, guys
offense.
like Coco Shu and,
Man,
and,
they
and
could
those
play,
guys.
dude. I'm
Um,
telling you.
a lot of
Kokoshu,
offense.
Shapi, Rojo. You know, I mean, this guy's there. I mean, I mean, that I would be up at night thinking about those guys when we have to play them. You know, they were good. They were really good. I mean, we say good in the context of Dominica, but these guys were good. You know what I'm saying? So when we
These guys were
won,
good. Yeah, we
yeah, when we beat Kensborough, dude, that was a big deal. You know what I'm saying? When we lose to Kensborough, it's worse on us from our supporters rather than Kensborough supporters. Yeah, we would get some flack from Kensborough supporters, but our people, yeah, yeah, yeah. Dude, you don't even want to go back to Newtown, okay? You want to just stay where you are. You know, I remember one time we played against Kensborough, and I mean, I think we were just over prepared, right? Mentally, we brought in someone to talk to us about some psychological things that we should be aware of, and I mean, we were just too tense. I'm not sure why that game in particular created such tension among us. Dude, we went there, we were all convinced we were going to win. They beat us 3-1. Dude, that was so bad. That one was the worst for me. You know what I'm saying? Because we were in the front end, we did so much work. You know what I mean? Not only on the field, but also, we had someone come give us a talk, an inspirational, and then we went there and they just smacked us. You know what I mean? It was no, they just smacked us, and we had to go back home and we had to deal with all our supporters. I mean, that was humiliating. You know.
and at that, that really built the character of young people. Young
Oh
people were
yes,
competitive. They were structured. You learn to be prepared. You learn discipline because you had to wake up in the early morning and go run and go train
all
before
right.
you go to work or
That was my
school
favorite part, by the way. That was not my favorite part, but we had to do
to
it.
go running. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
had to do it.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so I'm spending some time on that because I don't know if we've lost it necessarily because I still see a lot of good things happening in Dominica in terms of the athletics clubs. We say, kudos to Coach Cedric and some of the other guys. Also in Harlem, you have Maggie Peters that's
yeah.
really organizing and doing some wonderful work,
Don
continuing
Leo Gal.
carrying the touch. Don Leogal as
Yeah,
a
yeah,
coach.
yeah.
So
He's
it
amazing, by the way.
continues, but it's not. I don't know if somebody can put in the chat or call and contradict me. It doesn't feel like it occupies the same
Yeah, I know.
place in the community, and I don't know if there's anything that has replaced it as a vehicle for developing young boys and young girls into men and women that focus on sports.
Yeah.
What would you say about that, really?
Well, I think there are a couple things. One is a lot of people like myself, immigrated, right?
Mm,
So we lost a lot of people who were critical in the organizational aspect of keeping it together, and
mhm.
so I
Right.
don't think we were well prepared for when our generation retired from soccer. I don't think we were well prepared for the next generation. It's just like West
Right.
Indies cricket, right? It's the same thing. West Indies cricket was so good, and then I don't think the preparation was there for the next generation. So we're still struggling up till now. Everybody else is advancing, and we're still struggling. So I think is we were good. Everyone was touting how good we were and all the accolades. So I think we lost the plot in not preparing the next generation for to take over from where we are. And that's one thing I've learned. I don't know if people follow American football, but there's an example that I cite all the time when I'm speaking to customers or clients or so. I say, you remember the San Francisco 49ers had a guy called Joe Montana, right? Who was he was the main quarterback in the team. But Steve
Right.
Young, the understudy, he was there. I mean, he was there when Montana was there for 5, 6 years, and he was just the understudy. And then when Montana finally left, he didn't skip a beat. In fact, he was better in many ways than he is. So that preparation for the next generation, is as important as winning now.
Right. And it is said, I've heard a lot of really motivational people say that a leader is not successful until his successor has succeeded.
That makes sense to me. I've never heard it before, but I agree
Yeah.
with it completely. It makes total sense, because it's
And
okay. I
so
mean,
a great leader,
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I mean, it's okay because I mean, we might find a way forward, right? We might find a way forward. I mean, for whatever our circumstances are, we find a path forward. But being able to get someone else to find their path forward, that is what real leadership is, I think, because I mean, we know
Right.
the experiences, we got lucky here, we get lucky there, I mean, but being able to transfer to others the ability to find their path and be successful, I think that's what true leadership is. I think that, I mean, I think if we had done that in our community, I'm not blaming anyone. We didn't know better. We don't know what we don't know, right? If we had done that, I think we would have more success once we're gone.
And it translates equally in other aspects of life. I mean, not to get political, but if you look at the Freedom Party, the Freedom Party, Miss Charles, by all arguments, had a really dynamic 15 years in power. And then when it was time for her to go, there was not clear um, protege to take
Yeah,
over, and the party has not been able to even stand in the shadow of its former self.
you have to
Maybe
have a good bench.
you have to be able to be grooming your successors. We look at the current government. We have a very populist prime minister, but when we look, we don't see a clear one or two people that we say, okay, those two guys are in tough contention to be the next prime minister after the current one who's been there for
Hmm.
25 years. In our families, if we make progress in our family and we don't develop our children, our nephews or nieces,
Hmm.
then all our progress dies in one generation.
One
And
generation.
so I
Yeah,
think, yeah, I think the succession part of it is something that has been ignored, and it's something that we need to pay attention to.
yeah, yeah.
But let's come back to you. Tell us about when you migrated out of Dominica, how
So
you
I
came to be in the
remember.
U.S. in your early years. Mhm.
Yeah, so I remember it was 1984. I had applied for to go to college at MIU, Maharishi International University. I do transcendental meditation, right? So that's how I got exposed to that university. So I remember I got accepted. I didn't know at the time that I was accepted, but we were in St. Lucia. We were playing a cricket game against St. Lucia. It rained out. I remember sitting in the pavilion for a few days because you know how much it rains in St. Lucia. So when I came back home, I got the acceptance letter. So I had to leave, maybe in about 2 weeks or 3 weeks later. So I remember putting my cricket gear under my bed and say, well, that's it for me. You know what I mean? I'm going to take this opportunity. And part of what I got a scholarship to go to the university. And so I played soccer there. I played a lot of soccer for the university. It wasn't a scholarship for soccer, but I ended up playing a lot of soccer for the university. So that was fun. That was good. Um, and I mean, this is I had been contemplating for a long time, dude. I really need to go get an education. You know what I mean? I really do need to. And then in the Caribbean, you know how difficult it is, right? If you're not one of the top 5 students, to go to UE, then what are you gonna do? Now we're
Right.
fortunate we can do online education, and there's an extension office that's a little more aggressive now. There's more opportunities now. But during my time, so anyway, I got accepted, and I went to college in 84. I remember it was the 19th of January 1984. I remember landing in Iowa. That's where I went to school. And I left the Caribbean. It was 84 degrees. I landed in Iowa. It was 17 degrees below zero, dude. 17 degrees below zero. Oh my God. Talk about culture shock. But I mean, our generation, I think, was so determined, right? we when we wanted something, we that's all we knew. We just know how to focus. So I don't care if it was 20, 30 below zero. I wanted to be there, right? Thank God this was the worst day. I never had a cold day like that again in my life since I've been in the US, so
Right, right.
but I landed there and then I started my education and.
Yeah, when you experience winter, I came up in '87 to go to college as well, and I landed in January. Actually, landed on my birthday, my 20th birthday. On January 3rd, I landed winter. Well, at least that part of New Mexico don't
Yeah.
really have
Oh, you live?
winter.
Oh, it was in New Mexico. Oh my
I was in
goodness.
Las Cruces, New Mexico. Yeah,
Oh my
and
goodness.
you cannot imagine what it feels like to feel that cold for the first time.
Ooh,
Coming
I
from the
can, I
Caribbean.
can. That day, And so guess what I did was my hands were so cold. My hands were so cold. I went and I put it on the hot water, and then I didn't know at the time that you never do that, right? When you are freezing, you don't go put your hands on the hot water to warm it up because it's just pain. Oh my goodness, that was a
Pain.
miserable day, miserable day. But hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I survived it.
Mm.
That was the beginning of my challenges here in this country. But it worked out. It worked out well.
Yeah, it
And just
did.
to go
And
back
so
a
and so
just
you played so go back. Go ahead.
yeah, just to go back a little bit because I don't want to leave out my experiences, my SMA experiences because that helped shape me a lot too. You know, because I played
Hmm.
cricket and soccer. With the school, and we had a team that included people from outside. We played Division One cricket. So I mean, there's that's where the growth was taking place, right? All the growth, and then you remember in 1972, we also had that walkout, right? Where there was some issue with one of the professors, I think, kicking the student, and then and that was around the Black Power time too. We had all these guys coming from university and very conscious, and so I remember walking out, and dude, my biggest fear wasn't the walking out part. My biggest fear was going home because my mom was gonna be like, "Okay, why are you here? What's going on?" You know what I mean? So I had to deal with it. But I think we were so convicted about what we were doing that we walked out. It changed things a bit. It really did.
Yeah, it was definitely a time when we were encouraged to think independently. The you know the world wasn't as open, and so I guess people in power, their political ambitions were a little bit more local, and so there was space in there for independent thought. I went to the Dominica Grammar School,
Oh, okay.
and I also remember we agitated. There was a time where we went on strike. We went to school, but we wouldn't attend classes for about a week because we had demands that the faculty wasn't meeting, and we went on strike. And instead of going to class, we would go to the hall and have protest meetings in the hall until they decided to
Got
negotiate
it.
with us.
Yeah, yeah.
And so as school kids, you experience that, and you experience the power of numbers, of cooperation, of messaging, and of standing up to authority. That I think there's a whole generation that doesn't have that experience, and I think we can we can see that
Yeah.
in the way in things that happen, where our priorities are. There's a lot of work to do, and so you mentioned SMA, and I know you guys are planning a big reunion.
Oh,
We
yeah.
have a few minutes before the break. Let's talk about the reunion before the break, and when we come back, we'll continue talking about our high school experiences, and then we'll go back to bringing folks up to speed with what you're doing currently,
Okay.
and what you've been doing since.
Cool. So, probably about maybe a year ago, Alvin, I'm sure everyone know Alvin Thomas. He brought up the idea of having a 50th year reunion. Dude, 50 years since we were at SMA.
50 years.
Years since
Wow.
we graduated. That's a long time, okay? That is a long time. So we thought it would, and then we found out just recently when we launched it, which was on last week sometime, was last Wednesday when we launched it. that there's never been any major reunion, from SMA students. So this, what it is, it's this 50th year reunion that's going to be held from October 11th to the 19th in Dominica. We're going to have a series of activities, and then we'll be reaching out. And I know you guys have graciously helped us to promote it, and and plan to do a few things in the future. But this is a big deal for us, and and a lot of the funds that we're hoping to raise from this is to help with the brother Jermaine, the wing of the high school, the roof which caved in after when was it, Maria, in 2017. So we're planning a lot of activities. We're going to have music, we're going to have events, we're going to have panel discussions, and there's a whole bunch of things that we're planning, and we're excited about it. When we launched it last Wednesday, we had about 40 people. We weren't expecting that many people. 41 people, on the Zoom call talking about it. We had Brother German there. We had Monsignor John Baptist there. We're leading the prayer. We had a few. I mean, it was just a really good energy. A lot of our professors at the time were there. And it's an exciting time, and we're looking forward to this. Again, it's October 11th through the 19th. And the activities, as we move forward, the activities we'll be sharing it more and more with the public.
So 50 years since wow, you
50.
barely look 50 years yourself, huh?
50. 50. 50 is old. I always say 50 is old, but 50 is not
50
old
is
at all.
young.
50
It's not. It's not. I'm not far behind you. I'm not that far. I'm not that far behind you in terms of number of years out of high
Okay.
school. But it's a testament to the foundation that was laid in you guys, these young men. Because I'm saying young men because St. Mary's Academy is an all boys secondary
Yes.
school.
Hmm.
I listened. I tuned in to the presentation you had last week Wednesday, because that you guys were This Week in Interviews program last week.
Yes.
And the camaraderie, you guys, see, grown men, go back and channel back their schoolboy days and giving each other old joke and reminiscing.
Is that
It was
funny or what?
wonderful to see. Yeah.
Yeah. I just saw Lloyd came up on the screen there, Lloyd Pascal. We went to
Lloyd
school together.
Pascal.
Yeah.
He
We
was
from
part of.
My dad's from Boudica, right? So that's where I met Lloyd, and that was and Roy and Lloyd Pascal. So
Right,
I
right,
know
right.
them from a long time ago. Hi, Lloyd.
So right, Lloyd, you have a reunion coming up.
I hope he does.
There's the guys
I
on the
hope he
ground.
does. He and Roy.
Dr. Dublin and
Yes. Yep.
and what the other
Jonathan
people on
Prevost,
there.
Dr.
You had some.
Prevost,
Mhm.
Dr.
Dr.
Prevost, and
And the guy from Maho was on there as well. He's one of your local guys too. I don't remember his name right now. He'll come back before the end of the
then
program. But
Kenrick and all the guys, Kenrick Jean-Pierre, he's in Canada.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
and Alvin, of course, kind of spearheading this. Yeah, it's a great thing. I mean, it's something I think that's going to be really, really exciting. I'm really looking forward to it.
So before we go to the break, since we're on it, tell Lloyd and the other folks who are listening how they can get in touch with the committee so
That is
that
a
they
good
can
question.
participate. Mhm.
You know what? I will get that information before the end of the program. I don't have it at the, at the how
On
you
the
say
top,
that.
yeah, okay. But
Yeah.
I'll just say he knows Dr. Dublin, the dentist, so he
Oh
can.
yeah.
Dr.
That's one
Dublin is
person to
well
contact.
informed. Yeah.
Sobers Esprit also.
Sobers
Sobers
Esprit.
Esprit is very involved in it. I mean, he's the one who kind of set the foundation in terms of giving us a perspective, the historical perspective. He did you remember what I read, Tony, in the beginning? That was his putting that together. The idea of just the the sons of civil servants, and what we had to experience, and all the dynamic activity that happened during that time, including the development of music and art and culture, and and then I think the consciousness was just, maybe that's not a good thing to say, but the consciousness seemed that time to be just higher. There seemed to be more dynamic consciousness. I think now we're just so hooked on this, including myself sometimes, you know what I mean, that we've given our life and our consciousness to being entertained instead of conversation, and and being in different groups, and that kind of activity, I think, kind of helped us grow and helped us evolve and grow into like good solid young men.
Certainly. So I'm going to take a quick break, get a word from our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation. My guest tonight on This Week in Interview is Mr. Joseph Gist. His nickname 2T. And conversations so far pretty interesting, telling us about his involvement in sports, cricket, in football or soccer, and how that served him well while he was at college in the US. But in addition to that, we talk about community and the focus on really just activities that young people get into that help to shape them. Because being in the classroom and learning academics is one thing, but when you come out, you actually get life lessons and you develop your skills. For example, my day job is as a project manager. My intro to project management was really through the Dominica JCs. When I came out, I joined the Dominica JCs, and everything we did, we had to write it up in the form of a project and justify it and defend it in front of the executive and do the budget and keep minutes and all of those things. So those activities, sports and involvement in groups and all of that, give us that roundedness that we need to go along with the academics. That really is what would turn us into solid citizens. So we're going to take a quick break, hear a word from the sponsors. When we come back, I'm going to ask Tuti about his current activities. He's a senior marketing strategist with an organization, with a company called Imagine This, which is a company in the gaming industry. And you see, he says that they do a lot of gaming with indigenous people. And so we'll talk about to see if there are any lessons and any connections that we can make with that could benefit our Kalinago people. So stay tuned, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with my guest, Mr. Joseph Gist.
Presented by.
People say I've got a great smile. Well, I have to say, this is all thanks to the professional team at Beacon Dental Group right here in Dorchester, Massachusetts. I've got world-class dental care. Beacon Dental Group has expert and caring staff dedicated to providing the most advanced and satisfactory treatment in all aspects of oral health. Their services are designed to meet your needs and give you a perfect smile, too. General checkups, cosmetic surgery, Gemini laser service, and advanced procedures, all in a state-of-the-art facility. Call or visit Beacon Dental Group today, 1026 Blue Hill Avenue, Dorchester, Massachusetts, or call 617-282-2146 for a smile that lights the world.
A smart house run by a vengeful AI. A mute witness to an act of unspeakable evil. A breadfruit thief is haunted. A young man unwittingly creates a god. Giant crapos terrorize a community. A witch seeks revenge on her neighbors. And much more. The Piton Noir Writing Collective is thrilled to announce the release of the third book in their acclaimed anthology series, The Flying Crapo. Flying Crapo, Heroes and Monsters. now available for purchase on Amazon.com. Get your copy today and embark on a journey filled with heroes, monsters, and the magic of the Caribbean.
Get ready for an electrifying thriller. A fearless New York attorney takes on corrupt corporate giants fighting for the powerless. Can this seasoned attorney and his team take down a monstrous company and its powerful leader? What will be the final verdict? What price will our heroes pay? Find out as you turn the pages of The Trust by Sam George. Get your copy of The Trust today from Amazon.com.
Hey y'all, I just discovered an amazing plugin called Joan, Jock on Air Now, for managing my radio station's on-air schedule. It keeps your visitors updated on what's playing and when their favorite hosts are live. Trust me, Joan is the best choice for your WordPress site. There's a free version available in the WordPress repository, and it's definitely worth trying. If you want even more features, Joan Premium lets you easily edit your schedule with just a click. No need to delete and re-add shows. Don't miss out on Joan. Get it now from the WordPress plugins repository or visit the developers at gndenterprisesinc.com for more info.
Welcome back, and thank you so much to our sponsors for keeping our mics live and our lights working. We really appreciate the constant support. I want to emphasize the very last one, the Joan WordPress plugin. Those of you who have online radio and online programs, it's a plugin that's developed, that's in the WordPress repository, and it helps you to be able to manage your online programs. Go check it out. There are a few thousand people who use it and all good reviews, and it's constantly being upgraded. If you when you try it, you might find that you want even more enhanced features. There is Joan Premium that you can subscribe to. So Joan, Joan, stands for Jock on Air Now, and go there, find it if you know somebody who has an online radio program. The summer is coming up, and we're promoting a few other books. So make sure that you check out our books from our local authors, our Caribbean authors. As graduation is coming, give gifts of books, literary books. They're well written, they're wonderful stories, and so they make great gifts. And they also give you the opportunity to support our local artists and our writers. So support them. We really appreciate it if you show your support. My guest tonight on this weekend interview is Mr. Joe Gis Tutti, and we're just talking to him about his life. He came to our consciousness, current consciousness, because he's part of the 50th anniversary of the graduates from the St. Mary's Academy. If you were there at this weekend interview last week, we carried the launching of that reunion live, and so you will be aware that even if you did not graduate in that time frame, 1974, 1975. And there were some folks on there who were much younger than that, but they're still involved. I think they would welcome any alumni, any past boy of the St. Mary's Academy to participate and to contribute. And so he is part of the organizing committee. Alvin Thomas is no stranger. Alvin Thomas is part of the TDN family. He's always on. You can contact him as well. And on the local scene, Sobas Esprit, Dr. Damian Dublin, and those guys also on the local scene organizing. And it sounds like it's going to be wonderful. Let me put in a plug in as well. I'm from Castle Bruce, and we are having a grand village reunion. We call it Family and Friends Reunion in August 10th to the 17th. So if you go on the Facebook, you will see there's a Castle Bruce Reunion Facebook page. It's packed with activities for the week, so check it out as well. I believe I'm going to have a couple of the folks from Castle Bruce on next week as my guests to talk about that reunion. It's always a pretty nostalgic time, and also I mean, it's not just a fete, it's an opportunity to give back. It's an opportunity to look back and to see what you had the opportunity to experience as a student at the St. Mary's Academy, and make sure that the kids who are currently attending the St. Mary's Academy and those who are coming in the future finds an institution that is as dynamic and and relevant as it was to you then. Of course, needs have changed. I saw you showed your phone a while ago, and I thought I would start the second part talking about technology and the opportunity through the reunion to contribute. I was talking to someone this afternoon, and he says, one of the things we have coming up in the Caribbean is, our folks are smart, and so a lot of the high school students are using Chat GPT to to do their assignments. How do you think the reunion, I'm not going to speculate as well, would be able to help the St. Mary's Academy to maintain its reputation as a institution that molds young men, including the use of technology? Are you muted?
Helps people achieve with achievements is seeing someone who has done it, like Dr. Dublin, for instance. You know what I'm saying? I mean, working with him, being around him, then people start aspiring for that stuff. Dr. Prevo,
Definitely.
also, like Eric Douglas, also, a professor, and just seeing that these people who have been in the same classroom as you are now being doctors and being top of their profession, that itself is an inspiration. And it's funny because today I'm at the Kickapoo Lucky Eagle, the tribal community here, and they were graduating these Head Start students. I mean, there's little kids, just they're not even 4 years old, but they're graduating. And then one of the guys who made the presentation says, that used to be me. That used to be years ago. So I mean, the fact that they can see others in positions of authority, and and see how they've matured and become so valuable to their community and society, that is an inspiration. Now, here's the good part. With technology, it makes it easier. We didn't have that stuff, If with for example, with Chat GPT, I don't know how much people use it, but I think you're crazy if you're not using it. You know what I'm saying? The question with Chat GPT and those type of AI technologies is not, the answer is there somewhere, right? Is being able to ask the right questions.
Right.
And I'm not saying people should use it for their papers, and I mean, even when I use it mainly as an editor, right? I have the thought, I know what I'm trying to say. I say it as much as I can. I dictate it into the thing, and then it gives me something that looks more polished than I would do it, because it's like having an editor. It's the same thing if you're writing a book. I mean, you do the transcript, and someone like you comes by and they kind of make it flow a little better, make it make more sense. You have a better sense of who the audience is, so you can tailor it to these people. So I mean, it can't replace thinking. I mean, in a sense, it does. I mean, it refines things for you, but you have to know what you want. You have to
Exactly.
know the questions. That has to be precise. I think what's going to become more and more important moving forward is not where the answer is. The answer is there. Is being able to ask the right question, and tailor that question. Just refine that question to the point where you get to exactly the answer that you want.
And it's a tool. It's a tool.
Yeah.
It's and a tool can be used in the wrong way,
Yes.
and it can be used to enhance and to make a great product. And so the reunion has the opportunity to do that. I know SMA, the structure of the building, there's some needs some repair, and so those of you who are doing the reunion are also using the opportunity to raise awareness for that, to try to raise some funds to get that completed, right?
Correct. Correct. And that's critical. I mean, that's where we were, that's where we went through 50 years ago. We were the ones in that building, We didn't know what life would bring, We just knew we had ambitions, we had desire, we were hungry. Again, because a lot of our professors or the teachers at the time had just come from university in the US, right? I mean? And then we looked up to them. I remember, Castor, just looking up to, wow, dude, someday I want to be like this guy. I want to go to university. And then listening to them speak, how eloquent they were, And, Dr. Wilshire, when he came, just how eloquent he was. I mean, I'll tell you something right now. Dr. Wilshire, Barack Obama, and there's a guy from Viejas Casino where I worked when I studied. His name was Anthony Pico. These were three of the best speakers that I've heard. I mean, seriously, three of the best. The way they articulate things, the way they finish their thought, just the complexity of their thinking. I mean, it is really a pleasure, listening to these people, and those were our, in my case, those are my role models. These are the people that I wanted to emulate. I mean, I probably will never be as good a speaker as Dr. Wilshire, but at least I don't have to get all the way there. I get, as long as this is the North Star, even if you don't get it, at least you get to a point where you can articulate things extremely clearly, which is what I've always wanted,
Yes, and so let's talk about that in your current role as a senior marketing strategist. I mean, take the opportunity. Maybe there might be a young person that's listening to you, or it might not be a not so young person who may be looking to switch careers, that sort of thing. What is it? What is a marketing strategist?
So before, let me just say something. I just found where someone can find us is St. Mary's Academy, class of 74-75. St. Mary's Academy, class of 74-75 on Facebook. So you can just go there. St. Mary's Academy, class of 74-75 on Facebook. I just wanted to put that out there. Because
74/75 or 74?
Yeah. St. Mary's Academy, class of 1974/1975.
75.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Yes.
So there you have it.
What does a marketing strategist do? Well, in my case, I work with casinos all over the country. And, in this industry, what we're trying to do is to get people to make as many visits as possible, right? Because, once they come to the casino, they're going to gamble. In essence, that's what it boils down to. Right. So incentives in this industry is paramount. And that's what I was sharing. I made a presentation to the council today, at Kickapoo. That's what I was telling them. Incentives is what drives this industry. Now, if you go in retail, it's more brand like Nike, Reebok, all these big brands, they're seeing people like Michael Jordan wearing these things, or Carmelo Anthony or LeBron James. That drives, that drives not visits but purchases. In our case, it's incentives. Incentives is what drives it. So what I do is I help develop incentives for these players so they can keep coming repeatedly to the casino. Because there's a finite amount of visits they make now, right? Because we have data that shows they make maybe 2 trips a month. Our goal is to make them make 3 trips, 4 trips a month, and we provide the incentives for them. Now that requires understanding the player in order to do that. Right. And then so marketing, in essence, normally that's what I say to the clients. Marketing is not a inside out thing, right? We just try to throw things on people. No, it's an outside in. They have to tell us what they want, and they have to tell us how they want it. We tend in marketing sometimes to give people, try to pigeonhole them into some area that we think is necessary to push them. But no, that's not how it works. We have to let the customer tell us what they want. Listening, constantly listening. I mean, sometimes they don't know what they want, but at least we can understand from their conversations with us how to direct them. So, I mean, it's really... Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, go ahead. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we work with casinos all over the country. So I travel a lot. And, a lot of what I do is just communicating with the C-level executives, or, just sharing with them, how we can get from point A to point B. And, sometimes it takes a lot of dialogue. Sometimes it takes a lot of convincing. Other times, I mean, they get it immediately, and then we move from point A to point B. So, I mean, it's fun though. I really like it. I really, really like it. I mean, if there was a job that suits Joe, that's it. You know what I mean? It's just, I mean, I travel a lot. You know, I entertain a lot. I love that too. You know what I'm saying? It's not just all work and no play. You know, I know sometimes my wife thinks it's all play and no work, but I'm telling you, I mean, it's a lot of work. Okay.
It's a lot of work. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's meeting.
Yeah. It's a lot of,
It's only meetings up till midnight. There's no,
yeah, yeah. But
yeah.
but here's the thing. When you're with your client, you always have to be on. There's no slip ups. I don't drink, so I'm not never in a situation where I compromise myself in terms of what I say or what I do. So that's off the table, right? But you know, you always, when you're with clients, I mean, just in general, when you're with clients, you're always on. You know, I mean, I know it doesn't sound, but you're always selling. You sell what you're really selling is yourself. Do they trust you? You know, are you fun to be around? You know what I mean? Are you every time you see them, do they feel like you want to sell them something, or do you just want to hang with them? I mean, it's a very complex, you know, set of it's very complex, and you have to navigate. You know, it takes time, and it takes a minute to understand the dynamic. But once you do, and you're on that path, you know, it becomes easier and easier and easier.
So Dominica then needs you.
Well, I mean, I've started with the reunion. You know, dude, I'm open to anything. If they would call me today and tell me, Joe, we need help with something, I would do it. You know what I mean? I mean, thank God. I mean, I have a lot of connections here. I mean, I'm saying I got every connection there is, but I mean, I would have to learn what it is that's needed. You know what I mean? But I could sink myself into it, and I'm sure there's something I can do. I know, and if I'm called upon to do it, I'll do it. I mean, this is my country. I mean, I never forget deer. This is deer we're talking about. You know, I mean, that's what made me, dude. If I grew up in America, there's no way I would be where I am today. No way. You know, I didn't have, I mean, all the prejudices that they were up against. I didn't know prejudice until I came to the US. And even then in Iowa, where I thought it would be, these people were nice to me. You know, I mean, there's only one instance I've had in the US. I'm not saying there's no racism. Don't get me wrong, okay? I know there is. I know it's overt sometimes. I know sometimes it's more, you know, underneath, but I know it exists. But I'm just saying from my experience, dude, I just don't care. I just live my life. You know what I mean? And, you know, and I know there's one time I experienced something at one of the casinos and they kicked the guy out. I mean, I know it's I don't want to simplify this, dude. There is issues, race issues in America, you know? And I keep saying, I don't know if I was in the corporate casino environment, if I would have the same success that I have now that I'm in the Native American environment. Because, you know, as far as they're concerned, it's all people of color, right? I mean, so, I'm in their camp kind of, you know? But I don't know if I was in the corporate casino environment where it's mainly, you know, Caucasians and, you know what I mean? And I don't know if I would have the same success. Maybe I would, but I don't care to know. I just like where I am. I love the fact that, you know, when we make an extra dollar for the tribe, it goes to education, it goes to health, it goes to roads, it goes to getting other kids, you know, in a position where they can now contribute to the tribe, you know. So it's a meaningful life, you know. I mean, it's not just, we're getting people to gamble. True. I mean, maybe people can have what their moral objections to it, whatever that is, but in the end, it's for the good, you know.
Yeah, I mean, in Dominica we have a lottery. It's gaming. So there are two connections that's making in my mind, Joe. One is that, as I said, Dominica needs people with that resource to help them because as we struggle and we grapple for what's our next main income earner, tourism is never far from the top of the list. And Dominica has been making some strides in creating a brand for itself. But when you visit the island, I don't know if you've been there recently, the brand that we're pushing, there's a lot of habits that seem to go against that brand, that ecotourism brand, nature island brand that we're pushing. When you land in Dominica, if you are a conscious person environmentally, you cringe at some of the things that you see. So they definitely need some kind of, I should say we, because I consider myself a Dominican. We definitely need some a little bit of education, some practical experience in terms of thinking about the brand in everything that you do, every single thing that you do. When you buy a sandwich, what you do with the wrapper, um, if you dispose of it improperly, somebody as simple as somebody may see you and say, "Look at that." Somebody a simple video of somebody showing you littering can go on the internet and really sully your brand. And so we have to be thinking about that. The second part of the connection is when you mention that you work with indigenous people, and we know one of the most attractive things, one of the things that we're most proud about in Dominica is our Kalinago people. And so somebody like you who has the experience of helping these folks to be able to raise revenue for their projects might have there might be a space in there for you where you could probably help point some of the direction to, they have a very dynamic young woman chief now, Annette. There might be some space for your expertise to even if a conversation that.
Connection. Dude, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense because, I think they would be more than happy to engage with the Kalinago people, because
Mhm.
they see the Kalinago people as their people, right? They were the original people
Yes.
in the Americas, right? I mean, it's this tribe, for instance, has dual citizenship in the U.S. and Mexico, so they live on both sides of the border. In the discussions
Wow.
this morning, they talk this border in their mind is arbitrary, right? They just previously they would just move from one place to the next, having been
Mhm.
pushed from the Midwest, the northern Midwest, pushed down here, then on into Mexico also, so now with this whole border is arbitrary, so there's citizens on both sides. So for sure, I mean, actually that's not a bad idea at all,
Yes,
because
I
I
see.
work with so many tribal. In fact, the Indian Gaming Association chairman is here with visit with us. In fact, I set up this. They named the street after him today. And he was
Wow.
just touched. I mean, that's a big deal. I know him very well. I've worked with him on a number of projects, and something that's not a bad idea, dude. Maybe to mention it to him. It's like I want to introduce you to the original people in Dominica, and I mean, I don't know how the connections could go, but I'm sure there could be some benefit to be derived from it. I
Both
think
directions,
you're onto
yeah.
something.
Mhm.
You may
I,
be
I
onto
think I
something.
think that I think that would be tremendous, and I know folks that are helping the Carib chief to help
Yeah,
get do her programs and to organize stuff. So that's something
yeah.
that could come out of that. And so senior marketing strategist, and now we have a fair idea of what you do. Um, Energetic, you know. I
I'm not
mean,
liking that.
you're about to celebrate your 50th anniversary of graduation from high school, and you
Dude,
have the
that's a long
energy
time.
of
Can you imagine that? Holy
you have the
tamale.
energy of a teenager. And so
Veganism that caused it. I'm just kidding.
are
Yeah,
you a vegan?
yeah, yeah,
Are you a vegan?
yeah.
Yeah, because that's one of the things I do a lot on This Week in Interview is to talk about health to my audience and the importance of, deciding
Yeah.
what are your objectives for your own health is and taking control of that, your eating, your exercise, your sleeping, and so on. So a holistic person, because I hear you talk about meditation, I hear you talk about no alcohol, and now I'm hearing you talk about veganism. And so we might have you back for a health program.
Or to talk about health. That it's become a way of life for me now. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, I travel a lot. I entertain customers all the time. Can you imagine if I drank, bro? That wouldn't be good because we out so many times and it's free, right? Because the company pays for it. So I mean, it's
Mhm.
the temptation is there, all the time. I mean, I thank God. that I don't drink. In fact, I quit drinking even before I started with this company. At the right when I was starting with them, I quit drinking. I did drink, by the way. I mean, it's not like I'm not some prude. I did drink. And I quit just before that's the best thing that could happen. That was a blessing to me. I mean, that day that I say no more, no more, no more. I remember the first trip that I took when I quit drinking. I went to a carnival in Miami, and I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to drink? I mean, I had some grape juice. I'm like, oh no, that's not going to make no sense. Everyone, Joe, you don't drink. I mean, anyway. So, but then I discovered non-alcoholic beer, right? And that became socially acceptable. I can have something that appears like a drink, even if it's not getting me buzzed, So and I've that's what I drink when I socialize. It's zero alcohol, but you get the taste. I don't drink it too much anymore, but actually I do. I just had one tonight at dinner. But yeah,
it's
but
more carbonated water than anything else, right?
Ooh, dude, it really is. It really is, yeah. But it's a way of life. It's a way of life, and it takes a little discipline. But hey, I could be doing worse things.
It takes objectives. And that's what I like to talk to my audience about. I know, like, for example, at the start of the year, people talk about not New Year's resolution is a joke, but we always talk about setting your goals and setting objectives. And if you know what your goal is, as your body pile on the hours and the years, things that you
Tell
would
me
do when
about
you were
it.
things that you would do when you were 30 years old, you have to kind of curtail them so that your body can continue to serve you the way you
Yes,
need
yes,
it to be
yes,
served.
yes,
And
yes, yes.
so that's another connection, with the audience, is because they know. I mean, they know every year I encourage men to go do their prostate exams.
Yep,
I
yep, yep.
encourage them, the women, everybody, to go do your checkup every year. And so it's not a strange discussion that we're having here
Yes, yes.
about really paying attention to yourself and your body.
Mhm.
So I don't know what else I haven't asked you. We know about your career as a marketing strategist. We know about
Yes,
your
yes,
your experience in St. Mary's Academy. We know the importance of sports, and
yes.
of course, I'm joking about your vigor and your energy, but it's in no small measure, I'm sure, due to the fact that you were athletic and a
That, yeah, yeah,
sportsman,
yeah, yeah.
as
That
and so
helped.
you build that foundation,
Yeah, that
and
helped.
so that's important for young people
Yeah, that
to
helped.
understand. That helps. So Joe, I'm going to give you a chance to just say a few more
Yeah,
words about yourself and things I may not have thought to ask
miss.
you, and or things you may want to reinforce. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I would be remiss if I don't mention I'm also part of an organization in Atlanta, and then I know Avil will probably kill me if I don't talk about this. But it's an organization that we have called Island Classics. And what it is it's an organization that the goal of the organization eventually is to make donations to various organizations in Dominica. And one thing that we do every year is to have this event called our Old School Jam, which is on May 23rd this year. May 23rd. It's on Friday night coming, and it's in
Mhm.
Atlanta, and we have Impulse is going to be playing for us. We have DJ Silent, and we normally get somewhere between 100 and 120 people. Dude, I think you've been to that event, haven't you? Have you been to that
Yes, I
event?
have been. Yes, I have been.
That
Definitely, I
event
have been. You know that.
that
Yeah.
event is awesome. It really is. The food's excellent. Kanita is very deeply involved in it too. She handles all the food, and Odwin and Lighton and myself and Joe Luis. We're the ones who put it together. But it's really, really an exciting event. And we encourage everybody to come and be part of it. You can go to myfedtickets.com to get your myfedtickets.com. Island Classics, myfedticket.com, Island Classics to get your ticket. They're running out. We're almost to the end of the road. So if you want to check it out, you got to do it as soon as possible. So sorry, I didn't mean to do a commercial on your.
And no, you're very, very welcome. I encourage that, actually. I encourage that.
If I didn't do it, and I would get a call right after, Alvin would be calling me, dude, you go there and you didn't mention anything about this. But it's really, really, really a cool event, and you've been there. I mean, it's classy event. You know, it's mainly for more mature people. I mean, young people come too, but it's mainly for more mature people. The music's excellent, the food's good, and it's on May 23rd. That's this Friday at 8 p.m. Go to myfedtickets.com, Island Classics, to get your ticket. Okay, where were we
Yeah,
now?
and you would
Go ahead.
you would not be an excellent marketing person if you didn't take the opportunity,
You
right?
know what I'm saying? It would be marketing malpractice. It would be marketing malpractice if I didn't say something about it. But that's not what I'm
Exactly.
worried about. Is getting a call from Alvin telling me, I can't believe you can say it. That was what I was worried about. You know what I'm saying?
No, I have been to the event. I've been to the event, and it's a wonderful event. Very, very classy event, but not stoogy, not, it's
Yeah,
an
yeah,
event where you feel
no,
free and
yeah,
folks mingle and commiserate. And
yeah.
the music is really good, Dominican authentic music. But we welcome guests from the other islands. They're also able to come in. So,
Attend.
folks, if you can make it to Atlanta on Friday,
If you come
make
into
sure
Atlanta, if you live in Atlanta,
Atlanta.
this is the event for you, especially if you're around our age group. Your listeners. I mean, they're perfect, in that demographic, that comes to the event. And myfedtickets.com, Island Classics.
And I
All right, let
know,
me.
is it this year Atlanta Carnival is featuring Dominica? Or was that
No, it
last
was
year?
last year. It was last
It
year.
was last year.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, 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 yeah.
my friend Jeffrey Coffey is, I know, deeply involved in the organization of some of these
Oh, okay, okay.
activities around Atlanta Carnival. But folks, if you don't live in the Atlanta area, you should probably put it on your calendar as part of your bucket list to go to Atlanta Memorial Day weekend. And when you go there, plan to attend the how you call the event? The
It's
old school
old
jam?
school jam, Island Classics,
Old
old
school
school
jam.
jam. Yeah,
Yeah. It's
Island
a really
Classics, old
nice
school.
dinner and dance
Yeah,
atmosphere. And it's
yeah,
something that you will not regret putting on your bucket list
absolutely.
to go. So if Friday is too soon for you to go, plan to go next year because they do
Next
it
year, yeah,
every
yeah.
year. It's been
But
like maybe
if
4 or
you're in
5 years
Atlanta,
now.
if you're in Atlanta anyway, or you're gonna be in Atlanta and you're thinking, well, what am I gonna do on Friday night? This is the perfect event for you. It's gonna be at
Definitely.
8 p.m. at JVC event hall. Myfedtickets.com, Island Classics. All the information is there. It costs $100 a ticket, but then it's all you can drink, and we got a ton of food also, and then it's just music all night, and it really is special. It really is special. And thank you, Anthony, for giving us the opportunity to share it.
No, certainly I encourage that because I encourage folks to do things, community, and so the platform is there. You definitely feel free to come on and to talk about the things that you do, the services that you provide, and so on. So I will still give you the opportunity
To wrap
to
it
make
up,
some closing
yeah.
remarks. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, I when I came to this country, I went to school. I went to school in Iowa, and then I moved to San Diego. Dude, it wasn't easy, right? It was a difficult time for me. The economy in the 90s, early 90s was rough. San Diego economy was rough. Jobs were difficult to find. And I had to do what I had to do, right? It wasn't the most noble things. I didn't do anything illegal, but it wasn't, I was just surviving. And
Right.
then but one thing about it, and that's what I want to encourage people, no matter what age you are, the younger ones especially, just never compare yourself against other people. Because if I was comparing myself against other people, I'm saying, dude, I have a master's degree and look what I'm doing, I'm a server, and what's you know what I mean, and then all these weird things go through your mind, and it just keeps you back. Dude, I had a master's degree, and thank God, after a bit of a struggle, I found a job in this industry, this casino industry, as a server. Dude, I did it nobly. I worked
Yeah.
graveyard. Oh man, dude, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. When all these people, and then those tips, I made a decent amount of money doing, with tips and so. And I did that for 6 years. 6 years just to get myself, my feet under me. And then I transitioned into my actual education. I became the marketing manager at the casino eventually over a couple of years, and then a marketing director at another casino. So But I think the key is, whatever situation you're in, do not compare yourself with others and think that you should be somewhere else. You are where you are, and that's where you have to grow from. And just next day you try to be better the next day compared to today. And I visualize a lot. I would see myself in situations that I would never imagine, given my current situation I would be in, right? And then, over time, maybe it don't happen tomorrow, but next time you see yourself in a situation and you say, dude, I remember thinking, I'll give you a story, and I'll end with that story, because I think that really, truly captures the power of imagination. In 1977, I was playing youth cricket, right? And I think it was 1977. Yeah, 1977. I got selected for Dominica youth team with Mervyn Durant. I think Tike was done already. Mervyn Durant, and Joey Pierre. I think Joey Pierre was there too. I think he was. And so I got selected, and then I was the wicketkeeper batsman. So I got selected also for Windward Islands youth team. And I remember before the season started, I would go, there's a little cemetery right next to where I live, right? That little Anglican cemetery by the Savannah there,
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the significance is not the cemetery. It's just that was the quiet little spot that I had. I would go out, lay down there. In fact, I got that book, right, from Joshua. I got that book from him. It was called the Cybernetics, how you can use the imagination to bring what you want. I mean, I was young. I didn't know any different. Josh gave it to me. I read it and I believed it. So I say,
I remember reading Cybernetics. Oh yeah.
I say, I got nothing to lose. I'm gonna go. So I read the book. I remember getting it on Saturday morning. Dude, I couldn't put that book down. So I decided I was gonna picture myself on the West Indies youth team. What I gotta lose? So I remember before the tournament, I would go there and I would just lay down on the grave. No, it has nothing to do with the grave. That's not the story. The story is just a quiet place that I just give me a quiet place in that area.
Mm-hmm.
I would just picture myself, in England, because that's where the team was going to. And with the guys that I could be with, and I'm there and present. I did that for an extended period of time, maybe about a month. So I played the tournament. I did really well. I mean, relatively speaking, I was the captain of the Windward Island team. Anyway, relatively well. They selected the team. I wasn't on the team. So the soccer had started and cricket was out. Soccer had started. So I just moved on. Hey, it didn't work, whatever. Dude, about a week into the tour of England, I come to work and Mr. Who was it now? Ozzy was our boss at the time at the audit department. He calls me into the office. Yes. He calls me into the office and say, hey, then I need you to speak to Havis because you're going to England. And I say, I'm going to England? For what am I going to England? He goes, one of the guys, this guy called McIntosh, he was a keeper. He was from Jamaica. I don't think he was any better than me, but he was from a bigger island. He got selected ahead of me, right? So, so he got hurt because he went to catch a ball and it got through his glove and hit him on his eye. So now he was out of the tour. So they needed a keeper. So, dude, from one day, I'm coming into work. 2 days later, I'm on the field wicket keeping for the West Indies youth team. You know what I mean? And that's what, I remember there's a guy called Carl, Carl Peters. He lives in Newton area. Every time I would walk by, I tell him, Carl, he used to tease me all the time because we always used to banter, And I used to say, Carl, I'm going to make that team. And Joe, no way you're going to make it. You know what I mean? So we were bantering all along. And then finally I didn't make it. He said, you see what I tell you? You ain't going to make that. So, dude, 1 week into the tour, they called me and then I had to be there. And you know what was interesting? When I was there, everything felt normal. It didn't feel new to me because it's almost in some level I had imagined this already.
You were already there.
And then, you know what I'm saying? Dude, that was the best time of my life. You know what I'm saying? And then the guy, and some of these Jamaican guys would say, oh, you should have been on that team. I don't know why they picked this keeper anyway, whatever that is. But that's just an example of how imagination, and I've used that in my life. That has informed my decision making and the way I approach living from then on, because when you have a real example like that, then it's real. This is not something that this is something that I said I was going to do. I had the vision of it and it happened, so yeah, that has influenced the way I think, the way I live, and I still, that's me. I'm optimistic, and I know sometimes maybe I'm overly optimistic, but you know what? That's all I know. That's all I know.
The power of your imagination.
Yep. Yep.
There are two things that people use that with, right? Anything is possible in your imagination. You can imagine anything. I can be sitting here and close my eyes and imagine I'm flying the biggest aircraft in the world. Anything is possible in your imagination. The only other thing that people say anything is possible with is God. And so I'm a mathematician. I equate everything to math. So if A is equal to 1 and C is equal to 1, it means that A is equal to C, right? So folks can draw their own conclusion from that, but there are only two things that we know for sure where anything is possible. One is with God, and the other one is in your imagination.
Yeah.
And so that's a brilliant lesson that I think you are sharing with the audience. I hope folks are receiving it. All right. And I thank you so much for sharing that. It is
Yeah. But I
real
had a good
practical
time tonight.
example.
I had a good time.
Yeah.
Today was
Yeah.
a good day for me too because I had made that presentation to the group and they loved it, and I mean, it's like it was so inspiring. They just honored the IGA chairman and his Stevens, Indian gaming chairman. They put a street in his name. So I think I'm going to tell my wife. I think I told her already. When I go home, I'm going to put my little driveway. I want to put the driveway. I want to put my name on the driveway, like they put it on the street for him. She don't take me seriously, anyways. But oh man, but
I
it was
really, I really, I really appreciate the conversation, man.
yeah.
And I wish you and the fellow SMA 74, 75. And as I said, even though it's class of 74, 75, when I looked at it last week, there were folks who were from
Everybody,
1985. Tony John
yeah,
Baptist was there, right?
everybody, everyone.
Everybody is welcome and invited. Also, I wish you and Alvin and the other guys all the best on Friday night with the
Oh
old
yeah,
school
yeah.
jam.
Old school jam, Island Classics, my Fed tickets.
Yeah, and I wish you continued vigor and energy, man. And thank you so much
Hey, the guy
for
who
coming.
has my Fed tickets, he's Dominican,
Oh,
Also,
he is okay.
yeah.
Hmm.
Also, he is from Dominica, so that's a good thing. That's just a
That's
little
a
tip.
good thing. Yeah,
But
yeah.
then also, if if you have any connections with the Colorado chief, maybe we can separately, afterwards we can talk about it because I would be willing to connect her. I mean, it's indigenous people, right? They're all indigenous people, so I would be willing to make that connection. I don't know what's going to come out of it, but I mean, she has a vision of what she wants to, and you never know. These people might help her. They might feel the generosity because they're so fortunate, in their circumstances. They might feel, I mean, but I can at least
I
make the
have
connection.
I have a direct connection to her, so I'll set
Okay.
it up. All
Okay.
right. Okay.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Very,
All
very
right.
good to have a conversation with you. A good
All
night.
right. Thanks.
All right.
Okay. All right.
So,
Bye bye.
so folks, there you have it. Really wonderful conversation with Mr. Joseph Tutti Gis, former West Indies youth cricketer, Harlem Bombers, club member, wicketkeeper, batsman, soccer player, and now he's living his best life as a senior marketing strategist with Imagine This, the largest marketing company in the gaming industry in the US. And so we thank him so much for his enthusiasm. We shared quite a bit of nuggets with you tonight. I hope that you receive it, and wish you a wonderful remainder of this week. I believe next week I'm going to have some folks from Castlebrus who are going to talk about the Castlebrus reunion, and of course we encourage you to go to get your tickets for Friday on MyFed tickets. Look for Old School Jam. For the Casper's reunion, you can get your all-week pass that gives you access to all the activities, the banquets, the island tours, the house parties. There's a BRAF competition. There are all sorts of things that's planned for the Casper's reunion. You go to islandeventtickets.com, and you can get there's an early bird special. The week-long pass is $200, but if you buy it before the end of May, you get it for $150. It's about a $400 worth. The package together is about $400 worth. If you buy each item individually, it works out to be much more. And so get your registration in. The Casper's reunion is from August 10th to the 17th. So islandeventtickets.com. You will you'll be able to buy your early bird ticket there. So folks, good night. Have a wonderful rest of the week, as I said, and stay safe for the weekend. It's graduation season, so if there's somebody graduating in your life, congratulations to you and them. Special mention, one of our sponsors, Beacon Dental. Beacon Dental is a dental business in Boston. It is owned by Cuthbert Joseph and his wife. I think his wife is Monstrati and Cuthbert is from Casabros. Their daughter, Atira, graduated this week as Dr. Atira Joseph. She's a dentist. And so she's well in line. As we were talking about succession, myself and Tuti, we were talking about succession. She's well in line to take up the mantle of the business from her parents, Beacon Dental. And so congratulations, young lady, and of course to the proud parents, CB, Cuthbert Joseph, and if you know, the family is closely knit. His mom, his brothers, his sisters, his in-laws, they're all very closely knit. So I'm sure they all had a hand in the success of Atira. So congratulations, guys. I am up there. I have an appointment at Beacon Health on the 31st. So I will see you in 10 days. So folks, enjoy the rest of your week, as I said, and a good evening until next week, Wednesday. Good night.
Looking to promote your business, engage current customers, and reach new people? Well, look no further. From the basic presentation to a fully fledged advertisement, use your video ads to attract customers. At Man's Audiovisual Productions, we do just that. We produce videos for business and event promotions, product demo videos, animated explainer videos, fundraiser ads, and much, much more. Engage your clients and sell online. We customize the video to match your brand design. Guaranteed to play flawless on all devices, including smart TVs. Contact us at telephone number 203-690-4342 or 767-245-6238. Visit our website, mansaudiovisual.com, or email us at derekvideo@gmail.com.